Good morning. Welcome to Outside the Classroom. It's another cold, winter-like spring morning here, and we thank you so much for joining us. I'm meteorologist and science teacher Ryan Miller. It is Wear Your Soccer Team Jersey Day here. I've got mine on, and we're ready to rock and roll. So please, right off the bat and right out of the gate, if you could wear something related to your favorite soccer team or a soccer team or football or whatever you'd like to call the sport, we want to see you celebrating and wearing your stuff. You can certainly go to our Facebook page. We are streaming on Facebook and Facebook Live. Good morning, everyone on Facebook. Please show us your pictures, show us your teams, show us your soccer gear. And we are wrapping up the idea of your favorite team this week, and it's Soccer Day here on Outside the Classroom. The theme of the week with respect to what we've been covering topic-wise has been modeling. We've been looking at modeling in the sense of looking at how we can predict future outcomes, and that could be related to anything in the environment or science or math or perhaps even behavior. And we've been looking at analyzing past events. So prediction is one of the things that we've been focusing on here with respect to modeling. But I wanted to get to an idea of modeling really good soccer skills. And for a moment, I'd like to play a video. This was sent to us by Ryan Klinger and his parents, Michelle and Matt. And Ryan is a phenomenally good soccer player here. And representing his soccer skills and modeling some dribbling, we've got Ryan that sent us a video. And this is one of our goals here of the show. We want to interact with everybody that's out there. Please, if you have some good video, if you have interesting things to tell us or show us, we would love to see anything you could send us. So Ryan Klinger, Michelle Klinger, Matt Klinger, thank you for sharing this video here of Ryan and his amazing dribbling skills here on the soccer pitch, if you will. We're going to look at some spelling words right now, and the words of the day are going to be related to modeling in just a few aspects. Let's take a look here and put them down. We're going to get from yesterday's words, starting to run out of paper here, and the first word of today, the spelling word of the day, is design. You will see this word show up in a few different ways throughout the show today. So design is our first word, and if you design something, you're often working to build what we would refer to as a concept. So concept is our next word, and the third word of the day for spelling is if you design something and you come up with a concept, you probably would like someone to review your work. I before E except after C. So review is our third word of the day. So we're looking at modeling. And speaking of modeling, let's take a peek at a couple of graphics relative and related to modeling. And the idea of modeling in the sense of predicting, and let's pull up that graphic here talking about modeling, predicting future outcomes, whether it's the behavior of human beings, the behavior of the atmosphere, the behavior of anything. We can use models to do that, or we can look at past events. For example, let's say we had an rain event, and we did last July, where we received tremendous amounts of rain in the DC area, and that tremendous amount of rain led to flooding. So you can use modeling to go and look at past events and get an idea of what's been happening. So that's the idea and theme of modeling. Next week, we're going to jump over to the theme of adaptation, and we're going to try our very best here to give you activities, things that you can do at home while we're away from the classroom that are engaging, that can keep us invested in the learning process, and certainly we're focusing on one big main thing. That one big main thing is it's about learning. It's not about completing tasks. It's not about checking boxes. It's simply about learning one new thing a day, and that's my goal, that's our goal, and we hope we can do that and help you through that journey. So we're going to be talking about modeling in just a few minutes. We have a question and we'd love to get the answer. We've been trying to get the state bird for all 50 states, and we have many of them. We're keeping tabs. If you live or know of anyone in Kentucky, if you could please tell us what the state bird is. Hey, if you're watching us right now on Facebook or Instagram, or maybe even online, and you happen to know or are from Kentucky or could just research it, interact with us, please. You can go and send us that information. What is the state bird of Kentucky? Well, we're going to look at some landscape architecture and look at it from the aspect of modeling. We're going to look at the phases of the moon, and my colleague in Peru is going to give us a really interesting and unique perspective on modeling the moon phases. All of that coming up when Outside the Classroom returns in just a few moments. Welcome back to Outside the Classroom. Thank you so much for joining us on this chilly morning where we are. Maybe it's a bit warmer wherever you are, but we would like to thank Christine Marie. Thank you for answering our question about Kentucky's state bird. It's the cardinal. I had no idea that it was the cardinal, but I believe that makes Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky now 4 states that we've identified the cardinal as the state bird. So thanks for tuning in on Facebook, and let's keep it rolling here. Let's go right down the line to Tennessee. Tennessee's state bird. We're going to ask you if you know what Tennessee's state bird is, or perhaps you know someone from Tennessee. Let us know. There are lots of different ways that you can interact with us, and if you will give us a chance here, we would love to see you interacting with us. I'm on Twitter at my Twitter handle of RyanMiller_WX. Instagram, Miller_weather. Being a meteorologist, you'll see that weather theme often. And we also have a really unique and neat function in our website at WJLA.com. You can pull up the Chime In section of our website and show and share any of the video or pictures you're taking. That's a great way to quickly interact with us and give us some ideas of how we can best serve you, or actually show some of the really cool things that you're doing. Lots of different ways to talk to us, and we would love to encourage you to talk to us. So we're here today looking at modeling. We've got a fire going because it's a little bit cold, a beautiful fire here this morning. And let's talk about the idea of modeling with respect to literature, language, and reading. One of the things that's very important if you're working with your child at home and you're working to focus their reading skills or even encourage them to read is to really bring up the idea and the emphasis of active reading, trying to identify and look at and get really specific things from a text. And I have some wonderful colleagues in the Arlington Public Schools in Virginia that are specialists at modeling good reading skills, good reading behavior, and literature. And I'm going to allow my colleague and really talented colleague at that, Donna McConnell, she's going to talk a little bit about modeling with respect to reading.
Hi there, families. This literacy tip is really just for you. In the spirit of modeling, sometimes it's helpful for families of students who are reading to model what good readers do. And when we're modeling thinking, we really have to give students access to what readers do inside their head when they're reading. And we can do this by using something called a think aloud. So I'm going to show you how you might use a think aloud to help support your student at home. So on the poster behind me, I have a couple of sentences, and I'm going to do a think aloud to help support the skill of making an inference. So watch carefully. Mariana looked out the window at the sky. She wondered if they would have indoor recess. It says she's looking out the window and wondering whether they're going to have indoor recess. And I know that kids have indoor recess when the weather's bad. So I'm thinking that when she looks outside the window, she sees a dark cloud and she's thinking that there might be bad weather in the near future. So families, what I've really done is shown you how a proficient reader uses a skill of inference to better understand the text. You can use a think aloud to do any type of work with your student. You simply narrate the process that you as a reader or a writer goes through when you're doing that work. Hope that's helpful for you and that you're staying well and happy. See you next time.
Donna, you're a pro. Thank you so much for sharing some of those tactics with us. And I have another really great and phenomenal colleague. Her name is Sarah Congable. And Sarah has shared lots of different ways and reading strategies that we can deploy as we're all trying to wear lots of different hats at home, whether it's a parent hat, whether it's a teaching hat, whether it's just trying to work and get things done. Sarah has really good tips as well. If you go to our Chime In page on WJLA.com, Sarah has given us some strategies at the primary and secondary levels. She's broken it up, and she has some really good literacy tips for you as well. We're going to switch over now and move to the idea of modeling as it deals with architecture and design and landscape architecture. I have a dear friend of mine, Nancy Strinesty. She is a landscape designer. Her company, Early Space, puts together very interesting, unique designs of landscape and playground and play space areas to encourage people to spend time outside, get children outside to make them connect more with nature. And this is an example of a very simplified diagram Nancy put together of what we would call a rain garden. Coming back up after the break here, we're going to hear from Nancy. We're going to look at some of these designs and explore the idea of modeling and landscape architecture.
Hi, my name is Nancy Strinesty, and I'm a landscape designer and a former teacher, and I specialize in designing natural play and learning spaces for schools and early childhood programs and for city parks. I use plans a lot in the work that I do. I start with a base plan, and that shows all the things that are staying in the space. So that might be things like buildings and big trees and pathways and planted areas. The base plan usually includes the slope, so I can tell where there are high spots and low spots. Then I work with my clients, there's usually school communities, about what they would like in their design. And I create a preliminary design and then a master plan, similar to the one that you see behind me, that shows all the things that will be in the design, pathways and plantings and play areas. And schools use those master plans for communicating what they're going to have in their space and for fundraising so that they can build their space. Then the next thing that I do is a set of construction drawings. So that would include a layout, grading, surfacing plan, a planting plan, and design details. So the planting plan would show all the plants in the space, the quantities, the names, the kind of plants they are, and where they're located. The grading and layout and surfacing plan shows all of the different kinds of surfacing, grass and paving and wood chips, and the dimensions of each of those areas so that when the contractor goes to build it, they can tell how to lay it out on the ground. And then the design details tell how to build all the elements, like how to construct a sand pit or how to install a fallen tree for climbing. So anyway, those are some of the ways that I use plans in my work as a landscape designer. Thank you.
And that was Nancy Strinesty, a friend of mine, landscape designer. Her company, Early Space, works to model environments that kids can use to get a better connection with nature. And that's an example of landscape architecture and design being integrated and using modeling to come up with really good solutions to make things work and to connect people with nature. I wanted to talk a little bit more about modeling in the sense of something called GIS, Geographic Information Systems. Those types of tools, GIS tools, can help us to model the environment to see what it looks like. And I wanted to show you here on our monitor a couple of these really interesting and unique models that I built with my GIS class here not too long ago. This is a unique perspective of the United States of America. We can take a look at that. And it's showing us lots of different things in this model. If you look at it, one, we can see states. 2, we can see those columns popping up out of the states. And then we can also see number 3, those darker areas. Those darker areas are locations where you could potentially frack for oil or for natural gas. And the water usage here that we have showing up in these bars, you can see the use of water for agriculture. So it's kind of showing us a unique model of water use for agriculture and fracking. And we can look at lots of different types of models, whether it's for weather or whether it is certainly related to our natural resources.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate, coming to you from Lima, Peru, in front of the Pacific Ocean. Here in Peru, I teach high school physics, and so I wanted to share some ideas with you about this week's theme of modeling. One of the things that I really enjoy doing while I'm stuck inside during quarantine is at night going into my backyard and looking up at the stars and the moon. And because there's not as many people out during the day and people are turning their lights off at night, I've gotten some really clear views of the moon lately. So I wanted to share with you some of the observations that I've been making. I noticed that sometimes the moon looked like it was getting bigger, it was waxing, until it got to be a full moon, and then it started shrinking down, and it was what we call waning. So that got me thinking about what sort of models do scientists have in order to understand why the moon goes through these different phases. Now, what's a model anyway? It's simply a representation that we use to explain something that's going on and make predictions about the future. So I did a little bit of research, and for a really long time, humans thought that the universe was a geocentric model. So what does a geocentric model mean? Well, the prefix geo might remind you of geography or geology. Geo is referring to the Earth. So the geocentric model puts the Earth at the center of the universe. The sun, other stars would all revolve around the Earth. And in fact, we believed this until about the mid-1500s, until Copernicus came along with the heliocentric model. So what is the heliocentric model? The heliocentric model puts the sun at the center, meaning that the Earth would orbit around the sun. This is probably the model that you're familiar with and have learned in school, because this is the model that we now know to be correct. So how can we use this heliocentric model to explain the different phases of the moon? Let's take a look. Now, to help us understand the phases of the moon, you're gonna need a light bulb. And for this, I'm actually gonna take off the top of my lamp, so it's just the light bulb itself. You're also gonna need a ball, preferably a white ball, maybe like a softball or a baseball, but really any ball will do. Now, for this to make sense, I want you to imagine that our light bulb is gonna represent the sun. That's, of course, where all of our light comes from. Your ball is gonna represent the moon, and you are gonna represent the Earth. So you can imagine me, the Earth, would be walking around the sun, my light bulb, and the moon, my ball, would be orbiting around me, the Earth. Now, for the next part, you're gonna need a dark room. So I'm gonna pull all of the blinds and make sure it's nice and dark in here. So I first wanna show you how to make a full moon with this setup. I'm gonna turn my back so that the sun, the lamp, is behind me. And I'm gonna take the moon and I'm gonna put it slightly above the Earth, just like it would be in space. Now, as I look at the moon from Earth, I should see a circle, and that entire circle is lit up. This would represent a full moon. I'm gonna then change position and start to rotate so that now the sun is to the side of me. Now, from my point of view, I still see a circle for my moon, but I see it halfway lit up. This would be like seeing a half moon in the sky. And you can keep rotating, always looking at the moon from your point of view here on Earth until you get to this position, where from my point of view, I don't see any part of the moon lit up. This would be a new moon. I'll keep rotating and I can see the moon starting to get bigger, more light on the moon. Rotating some more, I can now see a half moon. And all the way around, I'm back to my full moon, where the whole side of the moon that I can see from here on Earth is completely lit up. You should be able to make all of the different phases of the moon, from a new moon, getting bigger and bigger, waxing all the way to a full moon, and then waning back down to a new moon. I would encourage you to go outside at night and just take a look at the moon. Maybe keep an observation log. How do you see the moon changing from night to night? And then try this model to explain why the moon is changing. It's not physically getting bigger or smaller. It's the light that we're seeing from here on Earth shining from the sun. I hope you have fun making observations of the moon and trying to model the phases of the moon in your own house. That's it for now. I'll see you next week.
And that was Kate Miller in Peru. Thank you, Kate, for sending us that video on modeling and looking at the phases of the moon. Tonight, if you have an opportunity and the sky is clear, see if you can get outside, make observations of the moon. The two most important things to note would be where is the moon in the sky and at the time that you're looking, and what side of the moon is illuminated, or if any of it is illuminated, and the percentage of that disk, that's illuminated. Keep a journal, look for changes, and let us know what you're seeing. We love to hear from anybody, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Instagram. Let's share our contact information once again. We've got lots of different ways and avenues for you to speak, interact, talk with us, make suggestions. We're here for you to help out in any capacity, and we would love to keep that learning process going and give you simple and easy to do activities with those. Once again, let's go to that full screen here with the contact information. We have Twitter, Instagram, chime in, all of these different types of sources that you can use to talk with us, to speak with us here, and interact most importantly. This is Outside the Classroom. I'm meteorologist Ryan Miller. Welcome to Outside the Classroom. I'm meteorologist and science teacher Ryan Miller. We're here today to celebrate Earth Day. Might be a little early here or not, but we're actually here to try and celebrate and give you some ideas on Earth Day and to celebrate the wonderful things in nature and in the environment that we can work with. April 22nd, that is the official Earth Day. But let's face it, we would love to have all of the folks that are watching here recognize that Earth Day really can be just every single day. Living a life of being good to the environment, it takes change, and change can be hard. We have to change our behaviors, and it's been difficult to try and change our behaviors as we adapt to lots of things happening all around us. But nature can provide wonderful resources, whether it's psychological benefit, medical benefit, or just simply that feeling when you're outside and you're enjoying your time in nature. So we're here at Outside the Classroom, and we've looked at things like patterns that we see in nature, patterns in behavior, patterns in the plants and the things that are around us. We've looked at relationships, our relationship with the environment, our relationship with nature. We've looked at changes all around us here, whether it's change in the landscape and as we go through seasons, the changes that are happening there, and we're trying our very best to model some of the items that we see. Take a look at this picture for a moment. We're going to look at a Harper's Ferry picture, and this is an image that I took a couple of years ago on a trail. I spent some time hiking with my son and my dear friend Tom Chisnell, and as we were hiking this trail and taking a look at it, we were able to make and see some observations. Two rivers come together at Harper's Ferry, and those two rivers are the Potomac and the Shenandoah. Do you notice any differences or changes, I should say, or see any difference whatsoever in the water of the Shenandoah River, which is the one that's moving vertically, and the Potomac River that is moving horizontally? Take a look at those pictures, take a look at that picture, and see if you can tell any differences here. And really, our hope with this program is to provide some insight into the Earth Day celebration itself, the origins of Earth Day here. We're here to look at the benefits that we can provide to the environment and that we get from the environment as we celebrate. And we're going to try to see if we can work some shades of green into every facet of our life. So we're here today on this Earth Day special to look at a couple of things. We're going to look at the origins of Earth Day. We're going to look at and try to celebrate Earth Day as best we can and give you some ideas on things that we can connect with respect to the environment and with respect to nature. Let's take a look right now at some ideas that we've put together and the benefits we get as human beings in spending time outside. As you get outside, you feel that sense of, Well, it turns out scientific research indicates that there are medical benefits, actual medical benefits for spending time and spending a certain amount of time in nature. It turns out that researchers both here in the United States and overseas have found a magic number for the amount of time you need to spend outside to get some medical benefits from being in nature. It's 120 hours a week. 2 hours. If you can dedicate 2 hours of your time, and let's face it, we all have a lot of time on our hands right now to be outside. You don't have to be exercising or hiking. Just spend some time outside and get some medical benefits. And those benefits include a lower blood pressure. Your hormones, your stress hormones will actually get reduced. It turns out that spending time in nature from a scientific standpoint reduces the aggressive behavior of humans. You can get a boost in your self-esteem by spending time in nature. Your attention levels can be stronger, and spending time in nature from a learning perspective has been found to reduce symptoms of ADHD. As we think about Earth Day, we should think about the time we spend outside and increase the amount of time that we spend in natural settings. There's medical and psychological benefit and benefit for all of our communities. I'm science teacher and meteorologist Ryan Miller. And if you think about it, there are so many benefits to us medically, psychologically from spending time and being outside that it's imperative that we try to connect our lives as best we can with nature, with being outside. And let's face it, all of our lives, and oftentimes our lives are so focused on things that may perhaps keep us or take us inside. But if you can take the time and spend a little bit, pretty much every day, a little bit outside, it's going to certainly find and provide a tremendous amount of benefit to you in so many different ways. When we return here, we're going to take a look at some of the things related to the history and the origins of Earth Day and why, in fact, we celebrate it. My meteorologist and colleague, I should say my colleague and meteorologist Rachel Kay is going to be back with us in just a moment to take a look.
Meteorologist Rachel Kay here. As we prepare to celebrate Earth Day this year, I have a few fun trivia questions for you to see how well you know your Earth Day history. Starting with, when was Earth Day founded? Now, if you've been paying attention and you're able to do a little bit of simple math, this is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, which means that the answer for when was Earth Day founded would be C. That was back in 1970. Next question, which of the following coincides with or was kind of a result of the first Earth Day? A, the creation of the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. B, the Clean Air and Water Acts. C, the Endangered Species Act. Or D, all of the above. If you guessed D, all of the above, you're right. Those all coincided with or were a result of the very first Earth Day. Next up, how many countries participate? Is it just the US? Is it more? Well, the correct answer here is D. There are over 190 countries that participate in Earth Day. It is arguably considered the largest secular holiday celebrated around the world. Next question, what is the theme for this Earth Day? Earth Day 2020, is it A, action on climate change, B, end plastic pollution, C, trees please, or D, green cities? Now, all of these have been themes in the past, but the theme for this year is A, action on climate change.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Now, I have a question. Do you know how many trees surround the structure or the building, the apartment building, the house, the townhouse that you live? How many trees are around you? If you have that answer and it's off the top of your head, well, that's awesome. But I don't really know how many trees are around me and the house that I live in. But there are so many different benefits and unique aspects to trees. I wanted to show you a couple of things. I actually recently planted a peach tree in my yard, and I've noticed that the peaches are starting to grow. It had beautiful blossoms on it earlier, and those blossoms have gone away, and now we're beginning to see little peaches and some of that peach fuzz showing up there in this tree. Trees can do so many things for us as humans, for the environment, and we're going to take a look at some of the benefits we get from having a tree-filled world around us. For organisms, these are cardinals, baby cardinals, in a little nest that we have outside in a tree near my home. So trees can provide habitat for organisms that are plants, or I should say are animals or anything, but literally there are so many benefits to trees, and we're going to look at those benefits right now in this video. With Earth Day in mind, let's celebrate the Earth by looking at the benefits that trees provide to us as humans and to the environment. The benefits of trees include removing pollution from the atmosphere, pollution from using fossil fuels. Trees help to cut down on noise pollution from roads, and so that's why we see lots of trees along highways and roads. Trees give us oxygen. In fact, 20% of the world's oxygen is coming from the Amazon rainforest alone. Trees help to stabilize the soil. They help to prevent soil erosion, and that in turn can help to clean our drinking water. We've all been under a tree when it's a really hot day. The cooling effect of trees, not only for humans, but for our buildings and houses, is a valuable resource to help us save money on saving electricity and from air conditioning reduction. Trees help to reduce crime. In fact, studies indicate that crime reduction from trees in urban areas is significant, and trees benefit wildlife. They give us habitat, and they allow animals and other creatures to live by giving us tremendous amounts of diversity in our habitats around where we live. So thinking about Earth Day, let's focus on the benefits that trees provide us and celebrate and plant and care for the trees all around where we live. I'm science teacher and meteorologist Ryan Miller. Now, taking a look at some of the things that we see in trees, they can provide us food, no doubt about that. And we have a tree right here, a peach tree with little peaches that are starting to grow and form on here. But there are other components and aspects of trees that really do impact our daily lives. Take a look at this map. I made this. I teach a GIS, a Geographic Information Systems class. And when you look at and try to correlate things like the amount of trees in an area with things like crime, there is a significant difference in what we can see when we're analyzing the data. This is Washington, D.C. The locations that you see in green, the darker the green, the more trees that are present. Those dots that you see on that map, those orange dots, the bigger the dot, the more crimes, the more assault that occurred. So there is a correlation between the amount of trees that we have in a region and the amount of crime and the type of crime that shows up. So that is one of the connections that we have with trees, and the benefits, once again, of trees are tremendous. Whether it's looking to hold and keep our environment healthy and our environment stable to providing habitat or food, the benefits of trees are widespread and unique, and that is one of the reasons why we help to celebrate Earth Day. Welcome back to Outside the Classroom on our Earth Day special. We're taking a look at things that we can do to try and benefit the environment, things that we can do to get outside and increase and get benefit from being in the environment. We're trying to provide you some ideas of how and what can be easily done to help benefit the earth. And we're taking a look at lots of things. It's wonderful to spend time outside. Any amount of time that you can dedicate to spending in nature can have benefit to you. We've looked at how much time it takes. It's about 120 minutes or 2 hours a week to help get some of that medical and psychological benefit of being in nature. But nature can do so many things as well. And if we respect and take and care for it, we can really find that we're doing a really amazing job to help and benefit the environment. One of the things that's very important, at least in our region, is to try and control the flow of water off of your property, to try and slow the runoff that leaves our property. Runoff, whether it's coming from a parking lot or a backyard, can certainly cause and do a lot of damage to our local waterways. So if you can try to reduce the runoff coming from your property, there are lots of options available. You can scale them up or down depending upon how complex you want to get with what you're doing in around your house and your landscape. But we're going to look at the idea of rain gardens. Rain gardens being a device that can be used to try and control and slow that flow of water down. And when you actually add in native plants to your rain garden, you get double the benefit. We're continuing to think about the Earth. We're continuing to think about Earth Day and benefiting the planet. One of the things that we could do around where we live is focus on the idea of putting in rain gardens. Simply put, a rain garden is a way to use vegetation to help control the flow of water, the runoff, off of your property. Rain gardens come in all forms and shapes and sizes and can be complicated. It just depends on where you live and how much runoff comes off of your land. Bottom line, rain gardens help to reduce that stormwater runoff, water that often has water pollutants in it that will leave your property and end up in a local waterway. Another benefit to rain gardens is as the water slows down and stops flowing across your property and off your land, the water can actually recharge groundwater and possibly even aquifer. If you wanted to take it a step further, you can use native plants and native flowers in your rain garden. Native plants do not require fertilizers and they require fewer pesticides than home lawns. Native plants require less water and your rain garden retaining the water will help to prevent erosion. Native plants can help reduce air pollution, they can help to give us oxygen around where we live, they can provide shelter for wildlife and pollination. Think about using a rain garden where you live. Control the flow of water, control the runoff, control the water pollution, and use native plants to help beautify the place where you live. I'm science teacher and meteorologist Ryan Miller. If you live in an area where you get tremendous amounts of rain, well, there is one thing that you can do if you get tremendous amounts of rain and it's flowing across your property. You can use gardens to control the flow, or oftentimes rocks can be used. And if you can control that flow by putting twists and turns or rocks, any type of physical barrier or feature that would work to help to control and slow down that water flow from your environment. So this is just a simple thing that can be done with some rocks. Most of the rocks that you see here were actually harvested and grabbed in and around the yard as we were digging up some things. But trees, they can do a great job of anchoring the soil as well. And rain garden benefits, there are so many different ones. And the one idea that I'd like to stress is whether you just simply dig a little swale in your yard and allow water to pool and then drain and infiltrate into the soil, or you get complex with a really sophisticated rain garden that would actually take water from your house and your roof and bring it into the soil. There's lots of different ways that you can consider adding a rain garden to your landscape or around wherever it is you live. As a teacher, we built a rain garden actually at our school, and there are some before and after, and actually before, during, and after photographs of us taking an area that was really just kind of downtrodden from a landscape perspective, digging it out, preparing these sites so that we can collect some of the water and to slow and reduce the amount of water leaving the school property. So we put in a rain garden at our school with the help of the local community, and it was a great way to try and help benefit the environment, and certainly something that you can be doing here as we consider Earth Day and the ideas of trying to celebrate the earth and, more importantly, benefit the environment.
Meteorologist Rachel Kay here with a request for you this Earth Day. The Earth Day Network, the U.S. Department of State, and the Wilson Center have all worked together to create this app, the Earth Challenge 2020. It's something that's free to download on any device, and it's a great way to get involved. There are kind of two goals with the Earth Challenge 2020 app. First, to collect data, hopefully billions of reports from all around the world, and that will help to contribute to research and filling gaps in our knowledge. The second goal, of course, to get you at home involved, learning about the environment around you, and hopefully to help build healthier communities. So if we open the app, to start, there are two categories: plastic pollution and air quality. So for example, if we click on the plastic pollution category, it says, as a citizen scientist, your journey begins by taking pictures of plastics in the environment. So you can go around the neighborhood, you can do it yourself, you can do it with your kids. I encourage you to get kids involved and pay attention to where you see that pollution. Take those pictures and then upload them on the app. That will help to contribute to that source of data and also make you just a little bit more aware. Then of course there's the air quality section as well. The goal of this is to take pictures of the sky. A really fun and engaging way to get your kids to pay attention, and you might learn a little bit more about the air quality in your region as well. Now moving forward in the future, they hope to add things like insect populations, food sources, drinking water, and climate change as well.
And that was meteorologist Rachel Kay. Thank you, Rachel. Now, with Earth Day and myself being a teacher and meteorologist, one of the things that I would like to encourage if you wanted to become a citizen scientist is to take advantage of that cell phone. Take advantage of your mobile device. Two apps that I can think of right off the bat that are fantastic at helping to benefit the environment. Number one would be Marine Tracker, and you can track through marine debris all of the garbage that you would see in an ocean or in a marine setting. That would be one. And the GLOBE program that is sponsored by the U.S. government. The GLOBE program is a great way to try and track anything like mosquitoes or environmental variables that you're trying to measure. So try to get involved. Try your very best to help do things to benefit the environment. Whether it's on April 22nd or whether it's before or after, we should really try to consider every day to be an Earth Day. Taking a look at this garden right now, some ideas of how we can benefit the environment. If you have the potential and the possibility of having a garden wherever you live, try to grow your own food. There are benefits in reducing fossil fuel usage. We are starting out the growing season right here, and there are lots of things that are beginning to take shape in the garden. Growing your own food is a financial benefit as well if you can produce a fair amount of it. But I've also done a few things in this garden. We have lots of little trees that are starting to grow. So as we think back and recap some of the ideas that we have relative to Earth Day, let's think about the benefits we get from spending time in nature, the psychological and medical benefits. Let's think about the benefits that trees provide, whether it's oxygen, whether it's soil stabilization, whether it's just being under a tree and feeling cooler on a really hot day. You can get some trees and look, and you'll be surprised where little trees are starting to grow. See if you can carefully take that tree, if it can't grow here, and put it in a location that would allow this little thing to flourish, and maybe 200 years from now, it's still doing a great job at benefiting the environment. We could build rain gardens wherever it is that you live. You can get yourself involved in your community and build some rain gardens anywhere you live to try and help reduce water pollution. So on this Earth Day, as we consider and think about all of the things that can be done to benefit the environment, think about the trees, think about the personal connection you have to nature, and think about trying to do your best to be environmentally friendly. I'm science teacher and meteorologist Ryan Miller. Thank you so much for watching the Outside the Classroom Earth Day Special.